She doesn't even go here.
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Homo, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome to Not So Straight Nerds for the next episode. I'm excited today. We're talking about Until Dawn and The Accountant 2, the two big movies that came out April 25th, or the weekend of April 25th. So
It's very exciting. I would say I felt some thoughts going into them
yeah,
because we were excited about The Accountant 2. We literally went and watched The Accountant, the first one, so we could prepare for it.
yeah.
And I will say, what a loss it was to know that John Bernthal plays
his brother.
the brother in that first movie before
Ugh.
it's revealed to you, because that would have been such a great reveal.
Yep,
And
it
I
would
wonder,
have been.
and I'll never know if I would have clocked it.
No. Just never.
But, and so we were very excited to see that. And then Until Dawn, this is going to be different for both of us because I was very familiar with the game. Whenever that game came out, whenever I was in either middle school or high school, somewhere in that switch. But it was definitely a huge moment, I would say, in gaming, where it's like every YouTuber you know is playing this or is going to have a very big thing of, oh my gosh, remember this game from like a year ago? This YouTuber's playing it now.
Yeah.
So it was such a big moment, and then to hear that they were going to make that a movie inherently is like, oh my gosh, that's a great story.
Yeah.
And it was acted really great in like the motion capture and stuff that they used for PlayStation games.
Yeah.
What a great pitch. And then the reveal that was like, oh, we're going to make an Until Dawn movie, but it's not going to be
Like
the
the
Until
game.
Dawn game. And it's
Right.
like, oh, they make a lot of games in this genre of like, will everyone make it out alive horror game for the PlayStation?
Yeah.
If you're going to do something like that and it isn't Until Dawn, why are you making the movie called Until Dawn? And that was kind of what I went into. I heard that a lot of horror fans were enjoying it, so that raised my hopes up a bit before going in to see it. What's your perspective on that one?
I was excited about The Accountant 2, especially when I heard good things, and then because I didn't know anything about the game really, or at least the things you told me about it, like I understood that there was a difference, but I was not personally affected by that because I never played that game nor watched anyone on YouTube play that game. I've never been a big gamer. So I was just going into it like a movie, and in that case I was very excited for it. And I knew some of the cast, and the cast I didn't know looked fun. And yeah, we're going to talk about how we felt about it, but I feel like both of these movies were a good time this weekend, especially following Sinners. I was a little worried. I was like, ooh, how are you going to follow Sinners? But they're so different. Like, I never even thought to compare them. So it's just like in a totally different ballpark. So
Yeah, these are both really fun movies.
We did a double feature of them, and I think it was one of my favorite double features. I feel like sometimes double features.
The Drop in the Amateur wasn't it for you?
No, it was better than the Drop in the Amateur because both of them were good.
Damn.
So, so there you go. Yeah, I was just about to say, like, this is the second double feature we've recorded in this way. Because I think we've done others, but we've done separate videos. So,
yeah. So, that being said, before we start getting more into these movies, vibe check. How the vibes?
Vibes. Anyways, this is our second. We're doing a double feature recording episode. In a way, So yeah, I'm excited. The juices are flowing up in my brain, and I'm ready. And I liked both of these movies, so I much more enjoy talking about movies I liked. I have a harder time articulating what I liked about them versus things I didn't like, because they just stick out more when you didn't like something. You're like, ugh, and you want to complain about it. But on the podcast, I enjoy talking about things I like way more than things I didn't like. So
sure,
yeah. I like being positive.
And I think having like a discussion about it is a good way to kind of verbalize and break it down.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah. What about you?
So podcasting.
Yeah.
I'm vibing.
Yeah.
I think I'm very excited to play this game again. I thought it was
Yeah.
fun. I thought it was fun whenever we did it, Drop versus the Amateur.
Yeah.
I think this one I'm going to be interested because if you didn't see that last versus, it was very heavily leaning towards Drop.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested
Yeah.
to see where we agree and might disagree on this one. I think this
I think
one
this would be a lot more.
draws the line. The line is a lot more blurred on what I
Yeah.
would say inherently goes to either of these. So
Mhm. And either way, whichever one we pick, I feel like in many cases it's going to be a lot closer than it was. So it's
For
not like
sure.
there's not like a clear winner, even if there is a winner. Well, there's going to be inherently, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited.
also
I didn't
very
even
excited.
write my thoughts down, so this is just like from my
Off the
brain.
cuff. I
It's
love
just
it.
crazy.
So real quick, I figured we take turns summarizing one of them.
Yeah.
I will go first with The Accountant 2.
Okay.
So, for assuming you've seen the first Accountant, this Accountant sequel.
Yeah, sorry, we did kind of spoil the first one, but
well,
for the sequel, this is a non-spoiler
I mean,
section.
if you've seen the trailers for the second one,
yeah,
then you know
that is true, because
one
that's
of
how
the
we
big
found
reveals.
out. So.
So in this one, Ray King, who is played by J.K. Simmons, is retired and he's trying to find this family.
Yeah.
And then he ends up ultimately dying as he's trying to search for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the person who took his role, Medina, finds out about that, and then she sets out to try and figure out why he died. She ends up stumbling on all of his casework, and
Yeah.
she finds through his research on that case the name and number and the face of the accountant.
Yeah.
So she ends up partnering directly with him in this movie to try and figure out what happened to this family and who killed Ray King. So, and then they end up bringing in Braxton, his brother. And there's a fun dynamic there between these criminals and this FBI lady. So
Yeah.
it's all really fun. There's a really great mystery there. And it's really fun to see all of that unravel.
Yeah, and the brotherly dynamic is very fun. I mean, they're just
For sure.
they're such different characters, but it works so well, and they're just great actors in doing what they're doing here, and it's just so fun to watch. It's one of my favorite parts. It's like, it might be up there as like one of my favorite duos like ever. And I don't know, it's just so fascinating to watch. I can't get enough
Their
of it,
dynamic is
so.
really great.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know about top 10, but they're great, very solid. So I just pulled up the Wikipedia page.
See, and I just did that off the cuff.
Well,
Can't even compare.
so Until Dawn is a survival horror film based loosely off the 2015 video game. So how old were you in 2015?
I'm
14,
always
13?
a year younger than the year, so I was 14.
14. Okay. Yeah, so middle school. It's set in the same universe, featuring an original standalone story that expands upon the game series mythology. So, basically, the concept in the movie, which if you want to respond after with what the concept of the game is, I think.
We'll get into that later.
Okay.
Just the movie for now.
Okay. The movie, the concept is basically this friend group. The main girl is trying to find her sister, because her sister went missing, is presumed dead by everybody, but she's not giving up. So they're basically retracing her steps because a family tragedy happened, and then her sister left to move on, and so she's trying to like figure out where she went to see, why she's missing. They stumble upon this gas station where this guy that's working there tells her, a lot of people go missing in this area. So she goes there, and there's one house in
A
the
welcome
whole
center.
Yes, the whole place. So they go inside and they're exploring, and there's like a guest book, and one of the friends writes her name down in the guest book, and then they're all doing something. When it becomes nighttime, and they start slowly but surely getting murdered in different ways, different gruesome ways. And then when the last friend dies, it all restarts. There's like an hourglass on the wall that they show, and it starts moving once those things start happening when it's dark. and then it resets, it like turns, and they're all like rewinded back to what they were doing in that moment. Like the friend is still writing in the book, she writes it a second time. One friend was like wiping water off a bathroom mirror. Another guy's looking at like missing persons posters.
He's ripping a page off.
Yes, he's ripping a page off. Like all these different things are happening, and they realize that her sister was here and experienced the same thing they're experiencing. And this happens multiple times. In the trailer, I think they even state that every person that has been here has only made it 13 nights. So they only have 13 chances. So they have to like avoid these murderers, and they have to survive until dawn. That's the whole thing. So yeah, I loved that concept.
Oh, it's a great
because
concept.
I didn't know anything about the game. So sorry to the game fans.
No, and I
But
will
we'll
say,
talk about it later.
regardless of how it compares to the game, this is a very fun movie.
I agree.
I would say it's a good movie.
Yeah, I would
So,
too.
you know, regardless of my thoughts on the game and how it
Mm-hmm.
compares to the game, this is definitely a movie that at some point I think deserves a watch, especially
Yeah.
for the horror.
Yeah, and I think you should try to go into it with a fresh mind. Don't expect, a play-by-play with the game. Like, don't expect The Last of Us. It's not going to be like that. Just expect a fun horror film, and I think that's what you're getting. So, yeah.
So, that being said, still non-spoiler, so we're not going to get anything specific.
Mhm.
So, but I do want to go into the verses
Okay.
on a couple of different categories.
Okay. I'm ready.
So, our first category is between Until Dawn or The Accountant 2. Which movie do you think has the best comedy or
Best
use
humor.
of comedy?
Ooh. Okay.
Okay,
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
The Accountant 2. I think it's surprisingly funny, actually.
Yeah. They use it well. And
Yeah.
especially that brotherly dynamic is very funny to watch.
For sure.
They just give each other such a hard time. I will say, Until Dawn has some funny parts,
Mhm.
but it's not something like The Accountant 2 is so different in a way where it invites a lot more space for humor versus Until Dawn. And sometimes the humor is very like, Gen X writers writing what they think Gen Z people sound like.
Mhm.
But sometimes it was genuinely funny,
Sure,
or
sure.
sometimes, it came off as cringy or embarrassing, but it was so much that it was still funny. So it had some moments there. It had some good laughs.
Yeah,
but
for me, the dynamic between Christian and Braxton was just always so fun.
you know what
And someone was always saying something that was hilarious.
You know what I just remembered? And we figured out that this is basically our dynamic, is the siblings in that movie. It's our dynamic. There was this one moment where they just kept cracking us up, and we kept looking at each other like, this is literally us. And then I think Braxton's the one, he just gets up and he's like, let's go get drunk. And we bursted out laughing in that theater.
No, it's crazy because I hate being like that person in a
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
theater where like I'm reacting stronger than everyone else is, at least to the point where everyone stares.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if I hope that people were able to avoid us, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really funny, man.
It was very funny, and I was like crying, laughing, like. But it was one of those, because I was trying to hold it in. I don't think we ever had a moment where we like literally bursted
Oh,
out
for
laughing,
sure.
except
But
for
it's that
maybe
thing where
the
it's
very
like you're clearly
trying
not
not to
okay
laugh.
sitting in your seat.
Mhm. Yeah. I bet people saw our like movement, because I kept like going up and down, like trying not to laugh. I bet they were like, what's happening there? But there was this old man in the theater, and he kept crinkling his stupid snack the whole time, especially anytime it was somewhat quiet. At some point, whatever you're eating, you have to get it out of the bag. So why are you constantly crinkling it? Anyway, so I don't really care.
Uh-huh.
I don't really care. And in the Until Dawn movie, there was someone on the opposite side of the theater that kept getting their phone out, full brightness. Oh my God. I'm like, theater etiquette
times
is
we
gone.
live
It's
in.
gone. And it's always adults. People complain about kids. It is always adults. It's not
I don't
kids.
know. I've had a kid pull out a Switch in a movie theater before.
Really?
Yeah.
I was recently on an airplane, and the kid in front of me only at the end of the flight. Like we were waiting to leave the flight. Thank goodness. But he got out this like fart gun from Universal, like they sell, and he went meh, 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 meh. And the grandparents kept being like, "We're gonna take it away if you do it one more time." 10 times later, they're still not taking it away.
Lord.
I'm like, this is why he does it. This is why he does it. This is why your threats mean nothing. Anyways,
Alrighty, moving on to our
it's
next
fine.
category.
It's fine. I have a lot of thoughts.
Clearly.
It's fine. Or feelings, I guess.
So the next one is, which of these two movies do you think had the best set design?
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Boom.
Ah, this is
Until
where it gets
Dawn.
interesting. We're actually voting for Until Dawn, like the other movie.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So this one, the house, like the welcome center that it's set in,
Great.
super love it.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other set pieces that you see that I don't think give as much of an impression, but still definitely stand out.
Yeah, and like,
But that house feels pretty iconic at this point. Like I
No,
can
for
still
real.
remember like feeling in it, and like it feels like a physical place that I think
Yeah.
if I went in there, I'd be like, cool. So I'm gonna go here so I
right.
don't get murdered.
Yeah. And they do a good job of using the space. They're
Yes.
in many, many rooms, and you remember it. You kind of start to remember the layout too, and I think that's very interesting. And I hope that's purposeful because it makes you feel like, oh, I would go here.
Yeah, I feel like in the vein of like Groundhog's
Mm-hmm.
Day-esque movies.
Yeah.
So it's not like those movies.
Ugh, I hate when movies do that, but it was fine. It was
like,
delivered by Victor, so I couldn't hate
in the
it, but
vein
I
of it
didn't
being
like
like
it.
a thing where you're doing it over and over again, it feels like you
Yeah.
have to be really familiar with that space, and you
Yeah.
definitely do.
You definitely are,
And
yeah.
it definitely feels almost like a homey,
Well-
a homey feel to it, even though it's a place you get murdered over
Yeah.
and over again.
No, I agree with that. And I think it's cool when they later start to reveal more parts of the house.
Mhm.
We'll get more into specifics later. But I think that's cool. It's like it's giving you enough new information to keep it interesting and expand your knowledge, but not too much where you're like, okay, wait, where was this room? Where was this thing? Like you're still very familiar with it. It's just adding to your knowledge. So
Yeah.
I like it. I think it was
Certainly.
cool.
Did a lot of great things.
It felt like when you go on like vacation or something, or you stay at someone else's house, how you're slowly familiarizing yourself.
Sure. Are there any sets in The Accountant 2 that stood out to you? I would say the house is probably the most time that we've spent in one place in that movie.
You mean the trailer?
No, the house that they rent where Ray King was having all of the stuff on the wall.
Oh yeah. I like his trailer too.
The trailer is iconic. The whole design of that, I think. But we saw a
Yeah.
lot more of it in the first movie than we do here.
That is true. And I really like towards the end where they drive to save people. That is my vague statement for that.
Sure.
And there's the big action scene at the end. I liked that whole thing. I thought that was cool. And I also felt like I could figure out where they were going.
Sure. I will say, other than the house, I would say I don't even know if I count the trailer because we just spent so little time there.
Yeah.
But I liked the institute that they cut to.
Yes.
I loved how
Oh,
they
yeah,
designed all
that's
of
true.
that place.
I agree with that. Mhm.
But I will say I didn't connect to it as much as I did the house from
Yeah.
Until Dawn,
Yeah,
which
me
I
too.
think is a testament.
I actually do think Until Dawn is like clearly the winner here.
Yeah, for
I would
sure.
say.
So our next category is, between these two movies, which do you think had the best acting?
That's hard because they're both doing very different things.
They are, but if you had to pick one,
I might just tie. I don't even know. Is that even allowed?
I'm gonna say no, or you can do a 0.5 and split it. I'm trying to think. It is a hard one for sure.
It is true. I don't know, because it's like some people might disagree. that-
Well, I mean, but this is our opinions, not.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that it is an super clear, I think, speaks its own volumes.
Yeah. Neither acting, I would say, is bad. Like, I
sure.
didn't dislike anyone's performance as far as I can think of. I don't know, but it's such different performances that it's hard to compare. I did pick one, though,
I also have picked
just
one.
to pick one.
But it is, I think, very close.
Yeah, I know
3,
exactly.
2, 1.
Yeah.
Accountant 2.
Yeah, that's also what I picked.
Yeah, I think this one leans more into it. Obviously, it's more action comedy than. But the thing is, I don't even know if I'd call it a comedy. It just is constantly just really funny.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be funny. It just is.
I agree.
And not at the detriment of itself.
Well, I picked The Accountant too because I'm thinking about that scene where John Bernthal, he's asking Ben Affleck's character, you know, why do you not miss me? Because if you don't know, the whole concept is, well, not the whole concept, but part of the concept is the accountant, played by Ben Affleck. Oh my gosh. He has autism, and he uses that. Well, the way he was raised by his father was basically like fight it and find control, and he teaches him that through violence. So that's why he knows so much combat. But so John Berthal's character is saying basically, do you not miss me because you don't care about me, or does it have something to do with you having autism, basically? Mm-hmm. He never really says it. He says, like, your condition. And I feel like the entire time it's said very respectfully, even though several times throughout the movie his character can be a little offensive, but he knows he's being offensive because he's like messing with people. Mm-hmm. But that one, it's very genuine. It's very like, am I missing something here? Is it something? Because the accountant says several times, you know, my brain doesn't work like that. My brain doesn't work like that. So he's like, is it just your brain not working in a way to miss me, or do you just not care about me? And I don't know. I really liked that scene. I really liked how he acted that scene. It was very emotional. And then just the in-between from going to comedic to vulnerable back to comedic, I think was done really well and very authentically. So, yeah, I liked both of them in that scene.
I think John Bernthal, like, I don't think he gets enough credit for what a great actor he is.
I agree,
like,
yeah.
His role in King Richard, honestly, in another timeline, could have gotten a nomination for supporting actor, because I really loved his role there. He does some awesome work. And a lot of people know him as Punisher. I think, unfortunately, even his show, The Punisher Show, doesn't give him a lot of space to work. Like, as an actor, I think that the Daredevil show gives the Punisher more stuff to work on than his own show, which
definitely
feels, you know, obviously I love seeing him in Daredevil, but I wish his own show, and hopefully his special will do a little better for him.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. But he does great work here. He did great work in the first Accountant movie. So he's a lot more to do here.
Yeah, I said The Accountant because I feel like the performances within like the acting genre really stand out.
Yeah,
I think the
that's
cast
true.
in Until Dawn, I think they do a good job. I think they don't do anything super unique.
Yeah.
I think they blend into the genre really well to the point where it's like you don't stand out because you're bad. You don't super stand out because you're great. They're just doing what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was like any, like you said, any unique or standout performances from that. I think it was solid and it worked for the movie, but that's a really good point. Within the genre, it's not really popping out there. So, yeah, I agree with that. Cool.
So, for the next category, which movie do you think had the best finale?
Oh, that one is hard because I actually really liked both. They're both very action-packed.
I agree. I think for both, it kind of depends on where you define the finale starting, but I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
Voter's choice.
I'm going to be different.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe. Unless you answer the same thing. But it's not different, but
Hold on.
it's fine. Hard. I'm going to answer something because I really don't care. I could pick either one. So I'm just going to answer the one that I think would be the less popular option.
3, 2, 1. I said The Accountant 2. You said Until Dawn.
Yeah.
Remember to say this. We do our on podcast as well.
I've been saying it.
Yeah, I just wasn't dragging. So, yeah, I think The Accountant 2, I think the endings are both really interesting for both.
Yeah.
This one, I think just the climax of it all and everything they're doing, I like. I don't think the action is particularly special or anything, but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think you raise the stakes to a really good point within that scene.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I
liked it.
I
It was
think-
very solid.
And I think in comparison to Until Dawn, I think there are some vague things. And there was a moment at the very end that, like, felt way too lighthearted considering.
Oh, okay. I'll have to
So I was like,
I'll have to see what you-
I don't... Nah. So
I'll have to see what you mean.
There's only... I can't have a specific con about The Accountant 2 in regards to the ending. There's one I have for Until Dawn, which is why
Okay.
I'd put The
Okay.
Accountant 2 over it.
And like I said, I could pick either one. Where would you define the finale for The Accountant 2? Because I feel like mine is when they drive to that place.
I would say that too.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more later. And Until Dawn, I would say the finale starts for me when they start the final night. Like after they watch the videos.
Personally, I would say it's maybe a little after that. Like I would say whenever
Okay.
they get into that last set, if you know what I mean, like that last building. I would say that's kind of where it feels for me.
Okay. And you know that changes things too. So
Although maybe that is a better point to start. Like as soon as they start going to move.
yeah, when they get to the
That's a good
13th
point.
night. Because it's really cool because they mention something of, you know, excuse me.
Stop dying on the podcast. If you die, we can't post it and we lose content.
I'm sorry. Who's gonna edit our videos
You're
if I
gonna
die?
and then you're gonna wake up yesterday morning and live through the entire day again.
Ugh, no, please no. Anyways, today was such a long day at work. Anyways, what was I even saying? I don't remember.
Where the starting point was.
Yeah. They mention something, the main character and like her love interest that's like, it's complicated. But anyways, it's definitely a love interest. So they're having a conversation and they're saying, you know, something of like, how would you feel on the final night? Like, what if you just keep coming back? What if it just never ends? And he's like, I hope it doesn't, because like the point of life being, you know, one chance in most circumstances makes it more memorable, makes it more meaningful.
Yeah, it makes it more important.
Yeah.
Because you only had one chance to make it count, so what did you do with that?
Yeah.
Which is a great theme that they explore throughout the movie. I really
very
like the use
great.
of that.
Yeah. And then they also talk a lot about friendship. I mean, that is just such a fun and interesting friendship or friend dynamic. I feel like a lot of other friend groups would not be as like supportive of each other. Like they say several times, well, we have to like we have to end the night together basically, and we have to fight together. And they don't always get to fight together, nor do they always choose to fight together. But on that final night, it's so cool because it's like they bring up the whole, this is our final night, so it's important, let's make it count. And one girl's like, I'm going to go do this because I got us into this mess, so I'm going to get us out. And they're like, no, we're coming with you. And I just think that's really awesome. I think they could have definitely, I don't know, in horror movies, I feel like far too often the friendship groups just crack. And I love that this one never did. And I love it.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I think that was just so refreshing to me. I love seeing power couples, and I love seeing power friendships. And we don't get enough of power friendships.
You're right. I've never seen a power friendship before this movie in real life.
Ever.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in TV shows. Anyways. I don't know. Or TV shows and movies, sorry. And I don't know. I thought that was really cool. And I loved the line. Even if it was maybe simple, like, let's make it count since our final night. I don't know. I still really liked it.
Was it as iconic as the, we have to make it until dawn? Roll credits.
I actually really love when movies say their title name because it's so stupid, but it's so like, and I think of those videos where it's like, I'm going to stop the movie when they say the movie title. Then it always makes me laugh.
Don't
I
you love that moment in The Accountant 2 where Braxton says, I'm
the
accountant 2.
And I'm also the accountant too.
Yes, roll credits. That doesn't actually happen, people. It's not Morbid Time.
But Until Dawn does say, we
Yes.
have to make it Until Dawn.
It does
But
say the phrase until dawn.
I will say, sometimes those movie title deliveries are not natural. I feel like this one, that's something I
mean,
believe
it's
they
a
would say
phrase.
that. Yeah.
It is two words that are commonly put together.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, we have to make it till the sun rises. We have to make it until dawn. Like, yeah, that makes sense to me. So, that was cool.
So, okay, next
Anyways.
category. Which movie do you think had the best directing? And I'm gonna combine directing and like cinematography into the same category.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, because I don't. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think the cinematography was particularly a standout of either of them.
That is true. That is true.
So that's why I feel like combining them into kind of the similar category.
Ooh. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Mhm.
3, 2, 1. I said until
Yeah,
dawn.
me too. Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of the action and shots in The Accountant 2, I think they do great. I think they're
Yeah.
pretty standard for the
I
type
agree.
of movie that it is.
That's what
I
was
think
gonna
Until
say.
Dawn does have a lot of elements that I think do make it stand out within its own genre,
Yeah.
which I think is really fun. You love to stand out.
And I just
above
keep
the
thinking,
ground.
like, it kind of goes with why I liked the production design. It's just they use so much of what they have, and they use it really well. And they don't go for like the. I'm comparing it to like The Woman in the Yard, where they do all those cheap like
Sure.
jump scares. I'm like,
Yeah.
they didn't fall into those cliches. At least not that I'm thinking of. At least it clearly didn't become a pattern long enough for me to
like, I
for it
think
to bother
most horror
me.
movies have at least one, and this one definitely has its handful. But that's
Yeah.
definitely not the point where it's trying to be scary.
No.
Like, there's definitely a element of horror from just like the everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
Which I love to see. I hate it when a horror movie relies so much on.
Yeah.
Ha, gotcha.
Gotcha. Did you flinch?
Looking at
Gotcha.
you, smile too. Did he say that?
Was it so loud that your head hurts? Good. That's the point of horror,
God.
which I liked Smile too. But that was such a loud movie, and I saw it in Dolby, so it was even worse. Like,
sure.
oh. Anyways,
Okay.
but yeah, this didn't rely on sound, which sometimes can be fun. Not what Smile 2 did.
I mean, you have to do something creative with it.
Yeah.
but-
I don't know. I really liked the direction, and I have a feeling that a lot of this cast is pretty new, and considering I didn't dislike anyone's performance, I'm like,
That's a good
I
testament.
have
for
to
sure.
credit, part of that to the director, because they're the ones who pull performances out of them. They also have to do it and be capable of doing
Yeah.
it, which we've seen from Snow White. Looking at you, Gal Gadot. Anyways, but part of that is the director. And I think because they're so new, that was like a good team effort. So, yeah.
Love it for that movie. The next category. Which movie do you think had the best action?
Mm-hmm. This is also very close to a tie for me, but... And I have a clear winner, or like clear favorite of the two movies.
I wonder. I'm actually curious if we're on the same page on this one.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Until Dawn.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I was thinking about putting that. I will say this one's like might be the closest for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, either this or yeah, I think this is the closest for me because I think overall it's kind of the same reason as directing is I think Until Dawn has more creative action, but I really really liked the final action scene in The Accountant too, so that's why I ultimately picked that one. But I think they have some interesting kills. They have some interesting it sometimes horror movies also go a little too far with, your main character suddenly being really good with combat. But this one,
movie does.
yeah, I don't think this movie does at all. I think what they're capable of doing is very smart and very realistic to me.
Yeah, I think this
So
one,
I could
and
easily pick
think
either one.
The action in Until Dawn stands out to me just because there's so much variation here.
Yes.
And they have some unique stuff that you don't see
Yeah.
in at least a lot of other horror movies. So I think in just with the variety they have, I
Mm-hmm.
think it really stands out to me here. Whereas I think The Accountant 2 has good action for sure.
Yeah.
I think it is a little few and far between.
Yeah.
I think even compared to the first one.
That is true.
And I think ultimately the strongest point is the finale.
yeah.
But I think the action you see in that finale could be seen in most other similar action movies.
I just loved like the brothers working together. I think that was really cool.
They said we're all in this together.
No, but I feel like this one would be a tie for me if I'm allowed to pick. But
But you're not. Scrub.
No, you're not.
Okay. The next one is, which movie do you think has the best script?
Oh, this is like really hard, but not for the same reason. Not that either one was bad, but oh my gosh, I actually don't know.
I think I have my answer.
Okay, script. Ooh, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be fun with this one.
Oh God.
Okay, I'm
3,
ready.
2, 1. I said The Accountant.
I knew you were
2.
gonna say
Oh
that
my
one.
gosh.
Okay, hear me out.
Oh, I'm hearing you.
Script-wise, in what the dialogue was, The Accountant 2 is very consistently good,
Mhm.
and Until Dawn does have some of those line moments. But the script is also themes of the movie,
I
what
love
they're
the
creating,
themes that they have in Until Dawn.
and that's
sure.
what really made me pick this one over The Accountant 2, which might be a hot take. I'm sorry.
Possibly, but that's your opinion.
But yeah.
Yeah, and I think... Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll double check for you.
I'm forgetting things.
We're recording.
Okay.
See, Roxy said we're recording. But yeah, no, I think the themes are a lot stronger in Until Dawn for sure. But I
Yeah.
think just the chemistry and like the dialogue written between our two leads and The Accountant 2, honestly, to me, it just feels so special.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's kind of what I was thinking, but I feel like a lot of the heavy weight is also on the actors and not necessarily. I mean, the script is good,
for sure.
but I feel like it's so elevated because of the acting that I'm like, I would have to see this from like less great actors to be like, is this the script more than I think it is? Because it's still good, but
Sure.
and I loved like I'm still thinking of that scene with John Bernthal in that whole monologue,
Mm-hmm.
or dialogue, but I don't know. I feel like I wanted more of that, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like we got a lot of that. Or, like, maybe not necessarily, like, the stop in to talk about my emotions
Mm-hmm.
part, but I don't know. There's so much brotherly camaraderie, and I think it really highlighted all of what that looks like
Mm-hmm.
really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like for me, the brotherly stuff is partially the script, but it's elevated by so many other things.
Sure.
Versus Until Dawn, I'm like, the themes, none of the actors really like are huge standouts, and so I feel like I'm crediting that more towards the script than that.
Sure.
I don't
That's
know.
super valid. So, our next category is which movie had the best twist?
Does The Accountant 2 have that big of a twist, I guess? I guess it does.
There was a twist.
Okay.
I would say it was a big twist, even.
Ooh, but then does Until Dawn really have a twist? Because, like, you know the twist in the trailer. But it's still a
I guess
twist.
it ultimately depends on what you count as the twist. My whiteboard is messed up.
You're doing great.
I might just start saying it out loud because this whiteboard is struggling.
Okay.
Okay. 3. Oh, you have one?
No.
Oh, well.
I
you
don't
know.
know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just chilling over here watching airplanes.
I don't know.
I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes. Thank you.
I feel like The Accountant 2 one. Well, I have to. Okay. Can we talk about what we think the twists are first? Well, because it's hard because we're in the
We're
non-spoiler
in the
territory.
non-spoiler, so it continues to be voters' choice. And honestly, we can't even say a lot about it here. So
Is it the reveal of who the girl is?
Yes.
Okay, and then Until Dawn, what would you consider the twist in vague
I would
terms?
say the twist would be
'Cause-
why everything's happening and who the person says is responsible for it.
Then I have an answer. It's definitely the accountant too.
I would also say the accountant.
Because I will say that's one of my cons for Until Dawn is I didn't really like the quote unquote villain.
Sure.
I didn't like his acting. His performance didn't stand out to me, and I didn't really think the twist was all that valid. And I honestly
It raises
didn't quite
a lot more questions than
Right?
it answers.
like. I don't really understand the motive there. I understand something horrible happened to the person. It's like, then why are you taking it out on innocent people?
Great question.
Anyways, so
Okay, and my last
the
one.
Accountu's, yeah, in that regard, much better.
No, I'm gonna throw in an extra one at the end after this one. But
Okay.
my last one that I have listed is which one do you think has the best costumes?
Oh, I have an answer for this as well.
Alright. 3, 2, 1. You reveal Until Dawn. I would also agree it's Until Dawn.
I actually really liked some of their outfits. I was like, that's
And
great.
I really like the design for like the crazy people and like the psycho murderer and some of the monsters and killers that they had. I thought it was
I was
fun.
thinking more of like Odessa's little like one button sweater thing.
Oh,
I was
and
like,
and there's
that sweater's a real one
that's
for
right.
like never breaking.
Never becoming a
I'm
button.
like, that's crazy.
the killer like goes to stab the button and it doesn't move.
That's what saved me, guys. That actually really would have been fun. I kept thinking about that, like the good first chunk of the movie. I was like, wonder if that button's ever gonna break. And I don't think it ever did, as far as I ever saw it. They never made it a moment if it did. So I liked I liked the girlies' outfits, and the guys. The guys are always
The
more
guys.
underwhelming, and maybe that's also putting the accountant too at a disadvantage. Is it's so much guys. I'm like, this doesn't stand out to me. It's good, like it fits.
Sure.
Doesn't stand out to me. Until Dawn, I'm like, I feel like, because a lot of times people don't understand what Gen Zers would wear. Kind of looking at you, Mean Girls, a little bit. A little bit. Anyways. Like the musical. Anyways. Although I loved their outfits, but I just didn't believe it was high schoolers. Anyways. This one, I'm like, I would wear some of those. And I feel like other people would wear some of those. So, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I'd wear the psycho mask.
Yeah.
And the overalls.
Yeah. I kept wondering if one of them was going to, like, pretend to be evil, like, putting one of them on. I don't know if the bad guys would have known. I wanted more about that lore.
That's what I always wonder about, like, in zombie movies, where it's like,
Yeah.
so if there's this zombie horde coming after you, why don't you just, like,
Act like a zombie.
like, cover yourself in some
yeah.
blood and be like, "Wah."
Yeah. Well, I mean, The Last of Us, they would be able to sense, like, certain lores, they would be able to know if you're a
Sure.
zombie or not, but others, you might not. So, I don't know. Anyways, good things
But
to think about. What's your
our-
other one? What's your
Our
extra?
last one is, which movie has the best sibling duo?
Oh,
I just think it's funny that they both have one so prominently. But I think there's a clear answer here.
yeah, the
3,
account
2,
too.
1, the accountant. too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
just
mean,
wanted to
it-
throw one in.
Well, I can't really say why there's barely one in the Until Dawn,
Sure.
but there's barely one
Yeah.
in Until Dawn. So, and it's it's not anybody's fault. It's just the reality. So, anyways,
Sure.
yeah.
So, even without that question,
You have
Accountant
other-
2 still wins for me. What's your score at currently? Between
Oh,
the two?
I was not keeping score
You
personally.
goober.
But I was gonna pick the Accountant too. But let me think. Okay, best comedy. Wait, let me write this down this time so I don't forget.
Yeah, while she's doing that, I will say if I
This
had
one?
to choose between the two, I think they are both really similar in quality, especially within their own genre. But I think The Accountant 2 stands out a little more to me overall. So, take that for what you will.
Okay. Script,
She's mad that I can hear the gears turning.
costume, and then what was your final question?
Best sibling duo.
Oh, they're tied. Guys,
No
5 for
way.
5.
Oh my gosh.
I would still pick The Accountant 2 as the better movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Until Dawn, within its genre, is the most unique movie.
Sure.
I don't know.
Awesome.
Plus, one of them I think I said, like, for best action, I think I said The Accountant 2, but that was a tie. So it would probably closer go to Until Dawn. But I did ultimately pick The Accountant 2, so I did count that as one.
Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and get a little spoilery with it. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in watching either of these movies, like you've heard us say, I think they're both worth a watch at some point.
Yeah.
So, and I would definitely say with The Accountant too, if you think you'd like it, maybe go see it in theaters.
Yeah.
I'm pretty prominent on that fact.
Yeah.
Until Dawn, personally, I'm of the belief, watch it when you can.
Yeah.
There is a lot happening right now in this space, but it's worth your time eventually.
Yeah. I wouldn't say either one is necessary to see in the theaters, but if you have time, it's a fun double feature.
Yeah.
So.
So, to start off this conversation, I figure while we're still talking, swinging between the two of them,
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite parts of both of these movies? You don't have to write it down.
Okay. Well, I've already said what mine was for The Accountant 2, which is the scene between the brothers.
Sure.
All vulnerable. Oh, that's a good question. My favorite scene's probably either something where they're like, we're gonna stick together. I have 3. I have one true answer though. The one true answer is the scene between the main character and the love interest when he says like it means more, it's more important when it's just one life.
Sure.
I really liked that line. And then the funny one, and then one of them would have to be something with the friend group. I'm not really sure which one. This is spoiler territory?
Yes.
Okay. So I have 2 funny ones. Speaking of friendship group scenes, it could be the one on like the second or third night when they drink the water and they all explode. I loved that.
That is so crazy. Why does the water do that?
I don't know.
I love that they that's just a fact that happens.
Yeah. I loved that
crazy.
at first the big guy, he coughed and he just like smeared it. He was like, let's not even, it was so gross, but it was like so like, I'm not going to address
Well,
that.
what
And
are
then
we
he
gonna do about
explodes
that?
like 2 minutes later. I'm like, that's so great.
I don't
And
know
then-
what I expected to happen from that, but it wasn't that.
No, I don't know. But also my question, well, anyways, we'll move past that. I have a little problem with that scene, but it's fine. The other scene is when the big guy, Odessa's character's boyfriend,
Abe. I think that was his name.
Abel or Abe. Anyways, he's being a jerk and he's like, let's just sacrifice one person. And then Odessa's like,
Oh, that was pretty iconic.
and like kills him. I'm like, I love it. And he's not even mad at her. And I'm like, okay. He like admits that he was like a jerk. He's like, I'll take it.
No,
I deserved
I think
it.
it really saves his character in that moment where he
Yeah.
continues to be like, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he's not, and I don't know. I think that's
Yeah.
easily a moment that could have completely ruined like how people view that character. But I
Yeah.
think the fact that he was still hard, like, I know
think it
you just
redeemed
stabbed
him a little
me,
bit.
but like,
Mhm.
you need to get the heck out of here.
Yeah. I thought that was really sweet because it also shows that maybe he just suggested it because he's not a part of the friendship group. And he was like, oh, I didn't realize.
Well, I mean, numbers wise, you still like,
Mhm.
like I can understand if when you don't have as close a connection that you're like, the most of us are
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to go. We should take it.
Yeah.
From a numbers standpoint, we
Yeah.
can't help her.
Yeah.
So,
So, I don't know.
I will say if I had to pick best moments, I think in The Accountant 2, I would pick the line dancing in the bar scene. I think that
Oh,
whole
that
thing
was
was really
fun.
fun. And I actually really liked in the bar, like when he was line dancing, there was like some long shots on the shoes where like it was showing everyone in the line having boots.
Yeah,
then
and he had the
his-
sneakers.
He has little sneakers. I thought that was really fun.
I will say one of my favorite lines was when he's telling the guy, it's okay, my brother wasn't having fun tonight, but now he will. Because he knows he's going to get to beat him up. I wish that got more laughs, but I think people were laughing at something before that. So it was kind of like people didn't really realize
For
it.
sure.
I did because I heard it in the trailer. So I was like, oh, yeah. But I was like, oh, man, nobody else heard that line because it was funny and nobody
That was very funny. And then in
anyways.
Until Dawn, I would say my favorite scene was when Megan gets possessed. She disappears and then she's in
Ooh.
front of all of the wanted poster and she's pointing and speaking for the different people.
That is really
I
cool.
loved that part.
I will say I was waiting for her to focus on the girl's sister.
I agree.
And I'm sure she probably at some point said something the sister said or thought, but it was never focused on or pointed out. So I was a little disappointed
wasn't
by
in
that.
a moment, which it could have, but overall, I still think that whole scene was chilling.
It was really
and I was
cool.
really hoping it was going to become more of a paranormal, like this one's a ghost.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't. And then I also don't know if they ever truly found something to like end with her spiritual connection to stuff.
Yeah.
Which would have been cool. But overall, that's still such a huge standout. In the game, there's a lot of different types of horrors as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's revealed that some of them are not real.
Yeah.
And but for a good section of the game, which I really like, part of it is supernatural and like a ghost.
Yeah.
And so this really gave into that kind of vibe,
Yeah.
which I really enjoyed here.
And I liked that it happened to her. It didn't feel weird because she was the spiritual one with the spiritual connection. I also kept thinking, she's clearly being affected the most, or at least physically you can see the changes in her the most, but she also went through the most, being possessed. And again, she's the most spiritual one, so it made sense to me that she was being affected the most.
Sure.
So, yeah.
What would you say is your least favorite part of both of these movies?
I don't know why, but my brain went to in Until Dawn the scene when Odessa's character and Abe, I can't remember anyone's name, sorry, from either movie, when they're driving away themselves and they're like recklessly driving through the storm. I understand they're scared, but then this big creature shows up and they just turn back around. I wish that was explained. I'm sure I interpreted that as just it's a guard of sorts to make sure they don't leave. I was like, that never comes up again.
Because we did see that in the trailer, and I was hoping we'd see a little bit more of
Yeah.
that scene, and then
Yeah.
that's really just the whole scene.
Yeah, no, and then they just turn back around and go back. Well, they get killed,
Yeah.
I guess. So I was like, okay. And then, well, also my least favorite part in terms of logic was in the water scene, where obviously the water kills them, but other than that, they were doing really well. Like one of them almost survived, and then they just don't try that again. They don't try hiding in the bathroom again and just not drinking the water.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, you had a good plan here until you
Sure.
drank the water.
Ooh,
well.
I found my least favorite. I remembered my least favorite part
Oh,
of that
and
movie.
I don't know if I have one for the accountant too.
If I had to say something for the accountant too, I'd say maybe every part with the guy that does the Pop Goes the Weasel thing.
Yeah,
Because I was just like,
it wasn't that interesting.
you're not adding a lot to the movie.
No.
Like, it feels like your whole thing is very separate from everything else going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel really like, can we get this over with every time you're on screen?
Yeah, and I also just hate the trope. I agree with that. I was thinking that the whole time. I mean, I'm glad the Pop Goes the Weasel thing was brought back up because, to be honest, I kind of forgot about that. And I was like, oh, yeah. But, yeah, he was just kind of boring in all levels. But also, I hate the trope when this, like, which, this is also Daredevil. I guess, I don't know. It worked for me a little more in Daredevil. But I hated it. I hated the trope in this movie where the Medina person, I was going to say Officer Medina, but she's not an officer, whatever she is.
An FBI director of
Yeah.
some sorts.
Where she clearly wants to do things by the book and teams up with the accountant, and multiple times he doesn't do things by the book. She's just like, you can't do that. I'm like, or you could just not partner with him.
My other thing was in that same vein, actually,
Like-
was whenever
And he's
like,
getting things done and you're
she would
not,
do
so
stuff,
shut up.
and then like, but he would do stuff in front of her, and it's like, dude, like, you're really smart.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Mhm.
like, clearly you have your own thing,
Mhm.
like where you can't pick up human, like cues
Certain
really well.
cues, yeah.
But clearly you're smart, and that's a whole point of
Mhm.
your character.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely, if you understand taxes, you understand deniability. Like, have her sit out in the car when you start going crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I kind of liked when he was like, when she was like, how am I going to drive? What if I get pulled over with this man in my trunk? And he was like, can you make all the green lights and blah, blah, blah,
that
blah.
was iconic.
I did like that scene.
this movie,
I don't know.
that's another great thing I love about this movie is how much more they use his assistant named. I have all the names of the main characters in the thing. Named Justine.
Yeah.
She was awesome. I love the expansion of her and her team at the Institute. I love the way she was tapping into the phone calls. And so
Copying
Medina was
things
calling the like receptionist, but she knew that Justine was hearing it. Her.
Yeah.
Love that whole thing. And then
I loved the scene when she was, when the whole team was hacking into that one lady's computer to get a selfie. I was like, oh, because my friend who was sitting next to me watching it leaned over and was like, that's so creepy. And I'm like, yeah. Because honestly, like, what if they could do that in real life?
Oh,
you
they
never
can do
know.
that in real life.
I'm sure they
You
can.
know they can.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think did I already say what my least favorite part of Until Dawn was?
No,
The
because we went
memory
into
thing. When they just randomly
Yes,
towards the end
that's a
brought
good
up,
point.
wait, are we not remembering nights? And it's like,
Wait,
and they're like, yeah, I guess so. And it's like,
when did?
you're
How did
not
we
gonna
get
make
here?
that a bigger deal?
Yeah, because as far as we knew, they were remembering the nights
'Cause-
because they were putting things together.
Yeah, and it's like, so why does that randomly start?
Yeah,
It's like, if you're going to introduce that, maybe don't just not talk about it again. Like, why does that
Yeah.
happen if you're trying to constantly make people be afraid of stuff?
yeah.
Or-
Unfortunately, that was their reason to be like, here's like a 30 seconds of what happened each night, so we don't have to keep fleshing them out.
Yeah, and then that whole
It's
scene
like,
on
that's
the
so
phone
lazy.
felt like, so they just didn't want to show them die all these times. Like, I would have taken a montage over that.
Yeah, me too. Like, just throw in a heavy metal song and like do the montage or whatever. Like, day 6, day 7, da, da, da. Like, I mean, that would have been cheesy too. Like, it would have been
But I
done
would have ate
before.
that up, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and it would have been better than what we got. So that was just such lazy writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would say those are my least favorite parts of those movies. What would you say, if you had to pick one actor from both, which ones would be your standouts?
John Bernthal.
I agree on that one.
Although Ben Affleck does a phenomenal job as well.
For sure.
Um,
I'm actually curious
And I
how
feel
the
like this is
autistic
more-
community feels about his performance,
Yeah.
actually. I've been thinking
I was
about
thinking
that.
about that too, because I do feel like it leans into a lot of stereotypes. However, they very clearly paint him like
As
he's
capable.
a hero. Like, he's a very capable and he's a hero. Like, he uses what some people would say are disabilities to be like, well, here's what I do with it. And sometimes it is still like, I mean, it's still a disability, and sometimes it does still like ruin things for him in his life, like socially.
Socially, for sure.
But I think it's really cool to see not only him but his entire team's worth of people be like so awesome. And I'm like, this is great. It's like they have superpowers, and I love that. I don't know how the community feels about that. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But
For us, it
from
seems
our
really
perspectives, yeah, it seems like it would be really cool, but I don't know. And then Until Dawn, I don't
cool.
know.
I think I'd probably go with the lead girl if I had to pick. Either her or Nina.
Is that Odessa's
Yes.
character? Yeah, that's who I was leaning towards. I liked all of the girls' performances.
Yeah, I will say
The
both.
boys had some shaky
I would
moments.
say Max and Abe both had, like, during the whole, like, intro of Max,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, have I seen Michael Cimino too much at this point that I'm now
Yeah.
sick of seeing him? I
Mhm.
feel like I haven't seen him that much, but yet here I
Yeah.
am
Mhm.
already being tired of him.
Mhm.
Which I never felt that way before, so it felt very
Mhm.
weird to feel that way.
Yeah.
And then
And
Abe
he also
had his
seemed.
moment in the house when he was like,
Yeah.
let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, okay.
But these are the women I think the girls really stand out.
Mhm.
Um,
I agree. They all had some great moments.
yeah.
So
And Megan had my favorite moment as well.
Yeah?
So maybe that's something also to think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I wouldn't nominate anybody from
Oh,
either of these movies for an
sure.
Oscar or anything.
I'm just talking about
but
favorite performance.
yeah, that's some fun performances.
Yeah.
So they just all really worked well together.
Mhm.
So
going into Until Dawn. So I wanted to quickly kind of go over what the game was.
yeah.
So, for those who don't know, Until Dawn was a PlayStation game. Came out in 2014, like we were saying. And it was the first of a line of games that PlayStation put out. And some of them ended up going to other consoles as well. But it was this kind of trend of horror story games with a bunch of characters. And you jump between what characters you're playing. And some of them are kind of I would say all of them. You can kind of choose what paths you take, and whether or not your character does things that could potentially kill them. But it's kind of like a thing where you're trying to save as many people as possible.
Yeah.
By the end of your run, which
Yeah.
is similar to the premise of the game.
Yeah.
But it's not the story of Until Dawn.
Okay.
Like there's even a whole like franchise of games, that spun off of Until Dawn in that style. But I can't even remember what it's called. But there's a couple of good ones in there.
Look some up. My chair is so squeaky.
It is very squeaky. But this first one did a lot of work to really like seize that moment and what that game was. One of the biggest things I can remember was it was one of the first games I've seen where it had the branch and talked about the butterfly effect in the opening, where it's like, if you do one thing, your characters will remember it and it'll take you down this whole little path that you can't get if you do the other choice.
Right.
And then
I love those type of like stories, games, whatever. Books, I don't care. Whatever
Yeah.
format, it's fun.
And then they also had the feature where there are moments in the game where you have to hold the controller so still, and if it registers movement, then the thing that your character's hiding from knows where you are.
Oh.
And in a lot of cases, you die.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so
scary.
that's-
I would just set it on the
And
table.
there's a moment directly in the movie where like the lights flashing and you see the Wendigo get closer to her, and then it's like right next to her. That's
Yeah.
right out of the game.
Okay.
That
That
happened
was a
to
really
another
cool
character.
scene. Yeah.
And imagine if you were holding
Cool.
a controller doing
Yeah.
that.
God.
Yeah, some people,
Like,
I
oh my
remember some of
God.
the people I've seen play it were like, I literally have this remote on the table and it still acted like it
Yeah.
moved.
Ugh.
So, super
That's
crazy.
what I
but
would try to
super-
do is the table.
but it did some really unique stuff that was really awesome.
Uh-huh.
And then you'd find these like little items that are like hidden throughout the map that like can show you like, here's one of the options up ahead.
Okay.
Be careful of this. And it's just like 5-second clip and it's like, oh, what? When does that?
Yeah.
When do I see a bear?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh, man.
better remember what happens when you see a bear.
Better be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool. It mixes in a couple of different bad things. Ultimately, there is, like I said, a spiritual aspect. There is a psycho murderer. And literally he wears the exact same mask as in this movie.
Yeah.
And then there is Wendigos as well.
Yeah.
Wendigos are a huge part of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes place up in the snow and the mountains, and there's a whole like lore about Wendigos. There was also a mine collapse, so there's
Yeah.
also that element of tragedy that they were trying to get across. There was also a sister that goes missing,
Yes.
and a friend group. Basically, she went missing the summer beforehand,
Oh, okay.
and then they come back a year later to kind of remember her, I guess, or it was like a habit that they did. And it was a pretty stacked cast. The guy, Rami Malek, was one of the characters in it.
Oh, okay.
And
good
actually,
for
Rami
him.
Malek's character had a folder. That was his character was the file that the doctor had
okay.
on the desk in this movie.
Yeah. I
Which,
got the vibe that it was getting closer to the game as it went on.
so, but
A little bit.
And
Like it added elements straight from the game.
and
throughout the
Dr.
film.
Hill is in the game, sort of.
Okay.
So on the mountain there is like this institution that you like randomly end up in as you go like all across this mountain trying to run and hide from things. And Dr. Hill also, before you even get there, jumps up randomly in the game as kind of like, we're going to take a break before you go into the next chapter. I want to know about you. And it's like a therapy session with him. And
Okay.
it's in these moments, it kind of talks about like like, what do you fear? And it like literally gives you a this or that. Are you scared of snakes or spiders? Are you scared of drowning or burning?
So he can
and
use
then
that
in
later.
the game it's like, oh, if you break through this wall, there's spiders here or there's a snake here.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then like the more you keep returning to him, the more like dilapidated and like worn down his office looks. And then eventually you like see his like card or in like doctor stuff in the institution. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
so someone knows this guy.
Yeah.
And it eventually reveals that one of the characters like we went to him. Slow spoilers, I guess, but Rami Malek's character was his doctor.
Yeah.
Went to him as a doctor.
Okay.
Which we see his file, and then at the end of this movie, you see the screens that are watching the welcome center in this movie cut to the cabin in Until Dawn. So, does that mean does that mean the stuff in the game is all like spawned out of someone's head? I mean, it's Wendigos is ultimately the real thing there, so
Yeah.
I guess maybe, but they don't repeat the night at all. Like, there's a whole thing in the credits where
Okay.
everyone who survives gives their little testimony, and they talk about like, and then my girlfriend died, and it was really bad.
Aw.
But like you see them leave, so it's an interesting change. And
Okay.
then he's also never physically there in the game. So it also is like, well, why are you watching this? This feels a little random, but whatever.
Yeah.
It feels a little like, remember that game we're actually based off of? And it's like, this actually doesn't make a lot of sense,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Just do your own thing or be the game.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the title Until Dawn works really well for this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, maybe don't, I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
I don't know.
It's just a very weird. This is like the kind of video game adaptation that people expected like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Except it's like one of the better ones, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. There's not a high bar.
Yeah, and then
Oh, some of the spin-offs are called Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, The Inpatient, The Quarry.
I played The Quarry. The Quarry is really fun.
Okay.
And then Man of Medan.
I don't know. That's just what Google popped up with.
Some really fun ones there. Going into some of the pros and cons we haven't talked about, although we talked about most of them.
I will say the whole thing with the sibling thing that we didn't want to say earlier, that's because she's dead. The whole
Also,
movie.
where
So
the
there's
heck-
barely a dynamic
Where
there.
the heck has
Maya Mitchell.
Maya Mitchell been?
Yeah.
Like,
She was like, so that was such a fun surprise. You were like, oh my God, that's Maya Mitchell. I had no idea she was in this trailer. And I'm honestly kind of surprised they didn't show her because people like her. She was in The Fosters. She was in the Teen Beach movies.
yeah, it feels, I don't know, it feels weird that she kind of dropped off for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that she did, The Fosters ended and she did Good Troubles, which I never got around to watching, but
Yeah.
I don't know how long that went on. But
I
it
don't
feels
know.
like
It was fun to see her here, though. I
For
wish
sure,
she
I
had a
would-
bigger role, but
I would have loved to see her. I hope to see her again sometime soon. I never realized how much I missed her.
yeah. I will say, I'm assuming she's the girl that gets, like, the opening scene where she gets killed for the
Yes.
final time. I did not recognize her in that scene. I didn't recognize her until, like, we see her face during the day. And I was like, I didn't know who that was in the first scene. So,
Can't remember when I asked, but I did physically ask you when. I thought it was in that first scene, or somewhere really close to the beginning.
not where she was getting
Oh,
killed.
it was in the camera. That's when I asked.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, when she's watching the video.
For
They're
sure.
watching the video.
We talked about all of the different horror elements. I thought it was really cool to have a like highlight of all of the different types of horrors.
Yeah.
The entire premise of just reliving like Groundhog's Day, but getting killed by different stuff.
Yeah.
Thought that was awesome. Interesting choice to try and tie it in with the game. The strong theme. We talked about like this theme of like friendship. What I really liked is like tying in with the day resetting with the whole point of like being stuck mentally in the same place and like forcing yourself to just keep being in this place and this mindset that you're not willing to go. And Maya's character was willing to go. The sister was willing to go and
Yeah.
leave because and they were split up because main girl Clover wasn't ready to go and do something else with her life. And I think it's, ultimately she has to, she makes the choice to move on and go chase something instead of running from something.
Yeah.
And I think that line, I think, was used really well here. We've heard that a handful of times in some other stuff, but it was incorporated really well here.
I agree.
This cast feels like something that could have been ripped right out of a Scream movie in the best possible way. So I thought they were all really fun. I thought the connections were all pretty well established. And then memory cons, I said the memory loss was bad. The phone use was kind of a cop-out.
Yeah.
I continue to think, don't name it after the game if you're not going to be the game.
Or you can name it because, like you said, it was a good name for the concept of the movie, but don't make it a Sony Pictures with the PlayStation thing. Like, don't connect it to the game in that way.
Yeah.
You should say something like an original film or whatever. Or, like, you should say loosely based off the game. I don't know. Something that's not, like, based off the game. And you're like, is it?
Is it really, though?
Not that much.
Do you have any other things before I ask one last question about this movie?
No.
Okay, so I want to rank the different evils from worst to best.
Okay.
So, I have the witch, the Wendigos, Dr. Hill, the giant monster, the water,
Yeah.
possessed Clover, and Psycho. There's a couple of smaller stuff that's just on the phone. I went with the stuff that they actually deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say towards the bottom.
I would say Possessed Clover is towards the bottom for me. Actually, I'm going to say Dr. Hill just because I didn't like
I
it.
would also agree that Dr. Hill's pretty low down there.
And then either Possessed Clover just because I didn't really care for it, or the giant monster since it was barely in there at all.
That's fair. I would say Dr. Hill, giant monster. I actually kind of like Possessed Clover. I thought that was... I like the mask and it being
I liked
someone
the
on your
look of
own.
it. I think what hurt it for me is I was really expecting, like you said in that one scene, the background mask to be a person. So then I was disappointed that didn't happen. And I guess I'm taking it out on her, but
I would also say the Psycho's maybe a little lower down.
yeah,
'Cause
it just wasn't that interesting.
He's pretty middle level. So Hill, giant monster, maybe water Psycho because they never did explain why the water does that.
I don't know.
It's
It's
that's
one
not
of
a
those
thing.
things.
Is it one of those things? I feel it feels like a lot of this other stuff is kind of tropey or referencing some other horror stuff that's done. Am I missing a bunch of water making people explode references?
I don't think it needs to make a reference. I just kind of liked it. It just surprised me. I was like, this is kind of funny.
It is very unique.
Yeah. And
But-
then
I'd probably put Possessed, Clover, Wendigo's Witch. I really like the witch. She
Yeah.
wasn't there for a whole lot, but she was creepy.
I
while she
really
was.
liked the scene where she's trying to open the door and then she turns around and sees the witch standing up. I'm like, oh, that was that one and the Wendigo scene where he keeps getting closer were the creepiest scenes for me. That was the one where I didn't want to look. I feel like all the others, I was fine. It wasn't trying to be scary.
Sure.
The Psycho was a little bit, but
I don't know. I liked Clover and the scene with the dolls in the room and the clown in the chair.
that is true. But I liked that didn't have anything to do with Clover for me. That had everything to do with I've always hated dolls, and the clown scene was really cool.
And then he
So.
kicked the doll.
Yeah, that was so relatable. Good for him. I was like,
Ugh.
yeah.
That was good.
I mean, I wouldn't have touched it in the first place, and I would have been out of there the second I heard it squeak in.
Sure.
But
What's our time
yeah.
like?
113. We should probably.
Yeah. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that the director, Andy Samberg, also worked on Lights Out, Annabelle Creation, and Shazam 1 and 2.
Oh.
Such a weird combination
Okay.
of things, right?
I was gonna say Annabelle's fun. Well, is that the second one? Annabelle
Yes,
Creation
the
is
scariest
second
one of the three
I
Annabelle
haven't-
movies.
There's 3.
There's
I haven't seen
3.
any of them, nor the Chucky movies, because, like I said, I don't like dolls.
Michael Cimino is in the third Annabelle movie, which if you look,
Why do I know that name?
he's Max. Michael
Oh.
Cimino. Yeah.
Okay.
But our
Victor!
writer, there were 2 writers on this movie. Blair Butler wrote The Invitation, and he wrote for
Oh,
the
slay.
Marvel sci-fi show Hellstrom.
Okay.
Just
Haven't
like-
seen that.
I
I kind of liked parts of The Invitation, though.
I've actually
It was
haven't seen it.
It was a vibe at some points.
And then Gary Dauberman, who is also credited as a writer, wrote Salem's Lot, The Nun
Heard of
1
that.
and 2, It 1
Okay.
and 2, Annabelle 1, 2, and 3, Swamp Thing as well. So
Okay.
some great horror credits under their belt.
Yeah.
So,
Very fun.
moving on to The Accountant 2, I think we talked a lot about
Oh,
this
and I
stuff.
feel like we
Okay.
should talk about the numbers at the very, very
Yes,
end.
I agree.
About both numbers
So The Accountant 2,
and like critics stuff.
hurt. Lead actors we said was great. I really liked the mystery of where this family was and why they were killing for it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard people gasping in the reveal when they found out that the mom that was missing is the assassin that's been around this whole case. I thought that reveal was done really well.
Yeah.
One of my cons is that it kind of didn't lead to anything after she found out,
It didn't.
which felt
I
like
noticed that.
okay. It feels
I
weird
mean-
that I loved that reveal so much and then he just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah. I agree.
Odd.
I mean, she kills the guy, but didn't really go anywhere else.
I said the movie was surprisingly funny. I didn't think it was going to be as funny as it was.
Yeah.
And then it gave us more Justine, and it grew the Institute a lot more.
Yeah.
And I really loved all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they found some really good stuff to grow off of from the first one.
Yeah.
And then they never did explain why, because King Ray King was saying like, I'm retired, but I'm only working on some like PI cases that are really important
That I care
to me.
about.
And it was like,
Mhm.
so why, like, understandable, like, why to like find a missing family and all that.
Right.
But, like,
And
why
human trafficking
this
and
one?
like, yeah.
Like that one's just like, so this
He
is the
hasn't
family
been-
you decided to focus on, and I expected there to be some kind of big reveal where it's like,
It's
oh
personal
yeah, it was
to
like
him or
he was on like the case of something related to it. And it's like, nope, they never explained it.
no, that is true. I don't know. And I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember him ever being like a particularly just like a working man kind of like I have to fight human trafficking kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, like obviously if you're a decent person you would want to, but he just never came off like
I mean, in the
real
first movie, he comes
sentimental
off as an
and
asshole.
yeah, exactly. So, I'm
So
like,
this feels like a jump.
yeah, it feels like a jump, and like we're missing something here. So
Christian Wolf is really funny. Braxton, played by John Bernthal, also really funny. Their dynamic is amazing.
yeah,
Truly something special, I think. Mary Beth Medina, I think she's fun. She has a much smaller role. I think she's a good bouncing board for the other 2 characters.
yeah,
J.K. Simmons, he's there and he's gone.
yeah.
The handler, Justine, played by Allison Robertson. I loved seeing more of her.
Me too.
I love the team that she assembled. I think the way they really highlighted, like, having, like, autism and being on the spectrum and still being so capable of such awesome things. I just super loved that, and it was super...
Yeah.
Like, every time we shot back to the Institute, I just was like, oh, I love being back here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not on the same level, but it's similar in my mind to, like, if we cut to the X-Men, like, mansion every now and then. I
Oh
was like,
yeah. I mean, they really are like they're so smart and like superpowers, and I love it. I love seeing that, especially right now with certain
for sure.
leaders being
This
super
whole movie,
offensive.
This whole movie seemed surprisingly topical.
Yeah.
So,
Certain health leaders being super offensive about autism. This is kind of great
Some
to be
talk
like,
about-
screw that. They're awesome and very capable. I mean, it's a spectrum. So, like, some people have it and don't know they have it. That's how much it's a spectrum. But it's, I don't know. It's just really great that this is so positive. And I hope the community likes it. I don't know what they feel like. I've actually never heard, which kind of seems a little disappointing that I've never heard anything about what they think about it, but
I don't know.
I don't know.
And then Anais, who is the assassin character and also the mom that they were looking for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think her reveal was awesome. I think...
I really liked her scene where she saw the photo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I don't
That
know,
was
and her
great.
action scenes were always really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, like, I kind of went into this movie being like, I wasn't super impressed with how she kind of looks in the trailer.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed seeing her.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I really wanted to see more with this character, and then they just
Yeah.
didn't, which felt really weird.
Yeah. I agree.
And then I put Alberto, who's the kid that they're searching for, played by
Yeah.
Yael
He did good
Yael
too.
Ocasio. And I thought he was really sweet.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have like much to do at all, but I don't know. He did leave an impact, and I really cared about him. So more than just I naturally would.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Any other pros or cons you want to add to that list?
No, I think that's pretty solid.
Okay.
Or we've talked
Ooh,
about it before.
Another scene
so.
I actually really liked is whenever the sniping shot right after the talking about like with the plea deal
Mhm.
and stuff. I thought that was a really fun scene as well.
Yes.
It's like, you should probably know his attorney is also missing. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's sit back.
Okay. I also want to bring up the scene where they invite in the 3, I guess, like prostitutes or whatever you call them.
Ooh, that was a good scene.
I really it felt weird at first till I realized what they were doing, and then I really liked the line from the last girl that stays where she's like, I don't have children, and it just totally stumps Christian Wolf why she would say that. But it's so, and I do wish they brought that up again.
Did
I
they
don't
ever
know.
explain why she said that?
I felt it as they have something to lose. I don't. Like, I don't have kids, so I'll stay, take the money, and give you the information in case they find out and I die. Because that's how I took it. I wish they explained it, but I thought it was funny how it was stumping him. Like, why would she say
I don't know.
that?
Well,
Why
like,
would
the
she
way it
say
was
that?
stumping him, I expected it to like lead into like
Yeah.
a big reveal, and then it didn't.
Mhm.
So it was like, I feel like you could have just said like another like, I don't have kids,
Mhm.
so they have less to take from me, or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like in the moment she didn't need to say that, but since it was never explained or it didn't lead anywhere, it does feel like empty. There was like a few things that I feel like they didn't finish in this movie, which is interesting. They didn't follow through with.
You know what? It does almost give the idea of like there were multiple drafts of this.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, my bad, I forgot to finish this draft and this draft and this draft.
So the director is Gavin O'Connor. The biggest thing he did before this was The First Accountant.
Yeah.
And
Slay.
the writer is Bill Dubuque, who also wrote The Accountant.
Yeah.
But he also wrote some episodes for Ozark, which I think is also incredibly similar.
Okay.
So
I never saw that. so.
interesting that this is a team, essentially, this is a team accountant franchise.
Yeah.
And I guess good for them. This one has a lot of hype around it.
Mhm.
So, Rotten Tomato guesses. Are you doing Until Dawn? I'm doing the...
Yes.
Looking at the... Or you're looking at Until Dawn, I'm looking at The Accountant?
Yes.
Okay.
Gasp. Okay.
I'm excited.
Do you want to do ratings first and then numbers?
Yes. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that Until Dawn, it's horror, so it's gonna be a little lower, I would think. I think critics are gonna be... I'm gonna guess 59.
Unfortunately, it is lower. It is
Ooh.
49.
Oh, I was thinking around
Yeah.
the 50 range.
Mhm.
49.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then audience, I think, is gonna like it a bit more.
Mhm.
I'm gonna guess like 66.
Close. 69.
Oh, okay.
20 above.
Nice. Yeah, I can.
So yeah.
I can see. I don't know.
I
I can
feel like
understand
that
how
makes
general
sense to me.
critics would
Mhm.
think it's not great. I think 40 feels a little low to me.
Yeah.
Like I expect I
I would have been
like
in the 50s.
I think in the 50s is where I
Mhm.
would expect critics to be for this.
Yeah. Critics are gonna critic, I guess.
I don't know.
But audience, I feel like that's valid.
Sure. So I also have it pulled up for The Accountant 2. Where are you guessing?
Ooh, and I literally have no idea on either one of these movies. I haven't seen even a hint, but I know people liked it. And I have no idea how the first one did, what the reception was. Do you think it'd be cheating if I look at what the first account
Here, I'll
did?
pull it up and tell you.
Okay. that could give me some perspective of how they have felt about it, because I do think this was a step up from the first movie.
Oh, interesting. Critic response to The Accountant was 53%.
Oh, that
And,
sucks.
Audience was 77. The Accountant writes off a committed performance from Ben Affleck, leaving viewers with a scattershot action thriller beset by an array of ill-advised deductions. They thought they ate with that.
What'd you say, 55 or something?
55 and 77.
Okay.
No, 53 and 77. My bad.
In that case, I'm gonna guess 73 for critics for
Okay.
the second one, and 83 for the audience.
Interesting. One of them was very close. The audience,
Okay.
the critic score is 77,
Okay.
and then the audience score is 92.
Oh, okay.
Which I think makes a lot of sense to me personally.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it was an improvement.
For sure. And then let's look at box office so far. We are still on the Friday of the weekend
we
it
haven't
opens.
finished. We're doing Cinema Score and IMDb.
Oh, you're so right.
Fake.
I think I
I'm just
accidentally
kidding.
saw the Until Dawn one. I think that one was at a 6.
Oh, for
6.1.
IMDb,
IMDb?
it is at a 6.
Yeah.
Can you guess the Metacritic score?
I'd probably guess also like 63.
Wait, why can't I see it?
You're doing
Where
so
is
good.
it?
You're doing
Oh,
so
it's at a 50.
Oh, that feels low.
Boo.
What do you think IMDb is for The Accountant too?
IMDb is pretty strict, but that is mostly audience, right?
It mixes both.
Okay, I'll do like a solid like 7.5.
It is 7.3 out of 10.
Okay,
So that was really
yeah.
close,
Okay,
actually. Good
yeah.
job. And then I'm going to guess The Accountant 2 probably has a pretty decent cinema score.
You mean Until Dawn? Oh well,
We don't have a cinema score, so we're both guessing on. Is the cinema score on already?
yeah.
What?
For Until Dawn, it is.
That's crazy.
Do you want to guess what it is for Until
Oh,
Dawn?
for Until Dawn, I'm going to guess it's pretty low, actually.
Yes, it is
I'm
a
gonna
horror
guess it's a-
movie.
Guess it's a B minus.
C plus. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's a little
pretty-
rough. I don't
That's
know.
pretty harsh to me, but it is horror.
A lot of
and-
these reactions are a little harsher than I expected.
Yeah.
Maybe you know what? It's also from a game.
yeah,
So
that's
gamers
true.
can feel pretty, and like I said, it's a moment. A lot of people have expectations for this. So
Yeah.
cinema score. Let me see. I'm sure there's one for The Accountant too.
Yeah.
There is. What do you think it is?
B. B.
B.
I'm gonna say a
Okay.
B. Solid B.
It's an A minus.
Whoa! I
I
was about to say
would've
B
guessed
plus,
A
but I was a little
minus,
scared.
actually.
Okay. I was gonna say B plus, but I was a little scared. I didn't want to be too
Yeah.
optimistic.
Dang. C plus. That's the lowest
That's pretty low.
one. Others since
Unfortunately.
Opit, Woman in the Yard was C minus.
Ugh.
But
Yeah. Well, that is several steps
That's
below Until
fascinating.
Dawn.
That is just all kinds of fascinating to me. I'm interested to see what kind of hole Accountant 2 has, especially because Thunderbolts is next week.
Oof.
We'll
Yeah.
see, because I think in theory, Thunderbolts wants to take that audience.
Mhm.
We'll see if it does. I think it's going to be an interesting question.
I don't know.
So, looking at the numbers and what currently is out.
I'm saying, Revenge of the Sith is like a shocking, like, to me, shocking overtaker for this weekend.
Yeah, so today
Like, okay, dang, okay.
I see Sinners as number 1. And this is just for today, grossing 6,000. Star Wars being second, The Accountant being third. And
This one we're
then a
only gonna
Minecraft
guess.
movie, then Pink Floyd at Pompeii, and then Until Dawn.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
That's rough for that movie.
Yeah.
To
And
be
this
fair,
budget is $15 million, according to Wikipedia. So,
to be fair, it has the whole weekend. So, and I'm sure no one was rushing
is
to see
true.
this movie in the first place.
that is true.
we saw it
Especially the
on the
gamers. You
preview
don't
night.
want to piss off the gamers. So,
So I'm gonna guess probably box office wise for the opening. Let me see what we're at so far. Solid 1,000.
And I will
I
also
still imagine it's
say-
gonna be low. I'm gonna guess probably like 5.5 for the weekend.
Okay.
Million, not thousand. Million.
And I will say it doesn't look like it got an international release, which is not great.
Well, I think they might just not be tracking it yet. They probably have that in
Yeah.
after they have all the numbers.
I feel like domestically. Ooh, I don't know, because I think this is just for yesterday. Because today's Friday, so like they're not even tracking today because it hasn't happened yet. Ooh, I don't know. I think I'm also gonna say like 5 million.
And then the Accountant 2 domestic opening. What do you think? Right now it's made 2.5.
2.5. Then
I'm gonna guess probably
7 million.
I'm gonna guess maybe. I'm gonna guess a little higher. I'm gonna go like 9 million.
Okay.
9.
Mhm.
So I'm probably even closer to 10.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say 9. But overall, if you had to guess, and I'm gonna put this on a tracker, where these movies end up, I would say Until Dawn, it made 15 million. I'm gonna guess it clearly doesn't make close to that. I'm probably gonna put.
The budget is 15 million.
I'm gonna guess 10 million is its end.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's too crowded for a movie so poorly received.
I want to be optimistic.
That C is pretty
though.
damning.
Oh, that is. And the video games. It sucks because it's actually pretty good, but
Yeah.
it just sucks that it's nothing like the game, and so you piss off the gamers, so you lose that entire crowd.
Someday I'm gonna make you watch the game, and
Yeah.
you're gonna feel some way about
I
it.
actually was going to say I really want to play the game, or at least watch you play it, but I feel like I want to try to play it. He's trying to get me to play games.
Well, I
and-
also don't have a PlayStation.
Oh, right. Dang. Maybe I'll have to buy a PlayStation. Then we'll all have everything.
Oh my god, then we'll be at your house all the time.
Yeah, except I'm nowhere in a state to buy that right now. But anyways. I don't want to be a pessimist, but I feel like you're right. I'm going to be a little more positive and say like 13 million. Hey,
Okay.
13. There you go.
Oh my god.
It's lucky number, I guess.
Okay, and what do you think The Accountant 2 is? What's the budget on that one? I'm looking.
What did I want to see.
So it's saying its budget is 80 million.
Oh my gosh.
Which feels pretty high.
Oof.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't
That's
think I know where all of that went.
No. I mean the
Probably
ending
Ben
scene.
Affleck, but
Yeah, Ben Affleck, and then so worldwide gross for the first one, it ended 152 million and 86 million domestically.
I'm gonna guess.
And this
What-
was
say
better
that number again?
received. 152 million worldwide. Almost 153. Cuz this one was better received, but I don't know how to compare cuz it's crowded right now versus I don't know if the first movie was
That's
or
the
not.
thing, I don't know if this will cross the century mark with how crowded it is.
I know.
It really depends on this opening, so it's hard to gauge without what that opening is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the century mark. I'm gonna say 100
Yeah.
million.
We might do another guess when we do the April recap video,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's fair.
Maybe. Cuz we'll probably do that like Sunday or something.
Yeah.
So we'll have a little more numbers. So, cuz man, I mean, I knew Sinners was going to take some stuff, but then next week's crowded with Thunderbolts and Revenge of the Sith came out and that stole a lot of its thunder. That's kind of shocking to me. I don't know. I mean, I love Revenge of the Sith. I want to also see it in theaters, but cuz it wasn't advertised very well, so I'm
still, it's
surprised
doing
that
so
people
well.
do. I mean, I don't know. When Star Wars fans
Or they
like
did have
something.
Hayden Christensen do that little bit of, what movie are you trying to see today? And it cuts to him with his Darth Vader cup.
Really?
Mhm.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to look for that. Wait, what was your projection?
Right at the century mark, 100
Right
million.
at it. I'm in this case gonna be a pessimist, and I'm gonna say 90 million. I'll be a little better. I was gonna say 85 million, but I was like,
I don't know, because it does have the cinema score to have legs,
yeah.
but then it's sharing its legs with a lot of
So
movies right
crowded.
now.
People
So,
are talking about it, but I don't know if it's enough.
we will only see. I'm really interested to see what that first box office, that opening weekend is for this.
Yes. That changes things, man.
It changes
things.
everything. But
So, yeah.
so that is our predictions on The Accountant 2 and Until Dawn. Next weekend
Yeah.
we have The Thunderbolts.
Yes! I'm
which
so excited.
Very excited about.
We have blocked a ton of words on our Twitter account because we have heard, because of the fan screenings, a lot of stuff is getting out. We're both like, please, we don't want to see it, please, guys.
What's our time at right now?
Hour and a half, not bad.
Let's quickly talk about maybe what we're hearing about Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Before we call it a day. I've heard Yelena and Sentry are the standouts there.
Okay, I hadn't heard that about Sentry. I definitely heard Yelena as a standout. I've heard that if you liked WandaVision and Agatha, this is probably right up your alley because of Yelena, like the kind of
Sure.
just like female vibe, but
I would
also
say she
there's-
actually gives a vibe pretty similar to Catherine Hahn.
yeah.
But like, you know,
really
maybe a little young. I don't know. It's something similar. Not exactly the same, but
interesting.
I think she brings a similar vibe to her projects.
Okay, I really like her. I really love Florence Pugh, and I love Yelena. So, and I also really just love the concept of these like underdogs, I guess, that have done terrible things or trying to figure out if they are even worthy of saving the world. I think that's really fascinating, and it hasn't been explored yet in the MCU to this level, at least. So, yeah, it's very, very cool. Not that I could think of.
I'm surprised that I haven't heard a lot about Bucky.
Well, I've heard he's not in it a lot. He's not a big
Interesting.
part.
That's what I heard was.
Yeah.
That's what we heard originally, and then the marketing
Yeah.
campaign certainly makes you seem a little otherwise.
Well, and I think they kind of were smart and were like, we need to push him even if he's not a big part, and we need to take away Taskmaster a little bit because a lot of people were complaining about Taskmaster. So I think that was a smart marketing move, even if it's still the same.
Mhm.
I personally don't mind that he's taking a back seat because I think he'll still do great. And I think even from the trailers when he is in it, the whole point is that he's rallying the team together, not that he's the leader of the team. I mean, he's never been, as far as I've seen, the middle of the poster. It's always been Yelena, if there is a middle. They very, very clearly have started pushing her more as well, where they're like, she has her emotional moments where she's talking with her dad. She's jumping off the building. They posted that video where she's actually jumping off the building instead of like a stunt double or
Craziness. Good for
something.
her.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool. I think they're starting to realize that, yes, they need Bucky and they need to push Bucky, but she's also got some pull as well.
Feels
so
like they're trying to like set her up to carry the movie the next time.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that's
Which
really
I
cool.
honestly think, I hope she can, because I think she deserves to.
Yeah.
For sure. And then also, we've heard the post-credit scenes
Is
are something
one of the
very
best.
special.
Yeah. At least one of them.
Sure.
Because I know there's two, but I've heard like that post-credit scene is one of, if not the best of the whole MCU. I'm like, okay,
Which is
we'll
a very-
see if that's
Which is a
reactionary.
pretty high
or,
bar. There's some
Yeah.
pretty iconic ones.
Which this is not spoilers because it's not. I've not seen this at all. This is just my personal theory. But I imagine it would have to have something to do with Doomsday if
Sure.
they're gonna say that,
I would
because they're
assume it's
saying they will say there's like a lead up or something. It feels very. Or no, they said like something. It felt very Phase 1, which reminds me of the Thanos teasers.
Sure, maybe.
We kind of need one, so if we get like a first look to Doctor Doom, Doctor Doom, that would be awesome.
and I
Especially if it
continue-
looks good.
And I
so.
continue to be really interested to see why this team is in Doomsday. Like,
Yeah.
clearly they have a team that stays, but
Mhm.
who's funding them? Where do they go?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like either you set it up here or you jump to a weird set of normal for these characters in Doomsday, which
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and people are saying like, remember that the asterisk is there because it does have a purpose.
Sure,
So I'd
I'm
imagine
still
there's some sort of
assuming
change.
that's them becoming like the Dark Avengers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
So?
here's to see if it's something else.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited. At first, I was like, I love this movie, but I don't like that John Walker's in it. And then now I'm like, you know what? Let's see what they do with it, because they've twisted it in a really interesting way. And I'm like, I don't know. He was insufferable in the show, but he was supposed to be. And so this one, he's supposed to be more of the underdog and like where do I go from here? What am I? Who am I?
Sure.
What can I be? And I think that's very interesting. I like that direction that they're taking with his character. So
For sure.
I'm
So-
excited. And of
So-
course, Ghost. I love Ghost.
So
great.
look forward to plenty of that conversation next week. I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that'll be a long conversation.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because you've had our Captain America Brave New World conversation, but that was almost a month after that movie had come out, so we had some
Yeah.
time to sit and
Digest.
kind of digest it.
Mhm.
Thunderbolts will be pretty
Fresh on the mind.
fresh off the mind. So
Mhm.
you'll have a lot of very raw thoughts and a lot of first impressions from us, and
Mhm.
they might not sound great.
We'll
but
see.
It'll be real, and we'll be
What? Are you
hopefully very
not-
excited.
Are you not excited?
Oh,
What
I'm
you-
very
why are you
excited.
being
What I'm saying is I
negative?
don't know how well formatted and well thought my thoughts will be after Rush.
Oh, okay. Heard. I thought you were talking about the movie. I was like,
No,
what?
not the movie.
What happened?
I'm very excited for the
What
Thunderbolts, and
happened?
I have some pretty, not huge expectations, but I'm expecting this to be
Solid.
pretty solid.
Yeah.
I anticipated that this was going to beat Captain America in quality.
Yeah.
So,
I agree
and
with
I
that.
continue to think that, which immediately puts it in like the top 3 movies of the year for me. So
Not a high bar, guys.
it
so.
is unfortunately a pretty low bar, but
Top 3 though. That's a little shocking
that's
to me.
That's good. I mean, my top 2 are both 10 out of 10. So
Yeah. So
good for
yeah.
them. So until then, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. I'm your host Luke,
I'm your other host, Alicia.
and thank you for watching Not So Straight Nerds.
Bye.